Buttigieg sat down for a speakeasy interview with our John Harwood and answered the accusations of socialism.
You know, the crazy thing about arguments like that is how uncoupled they are from evidence. We're not to speculate on what happens in a Western society that delivers health care to everybody, or that has more social mobility, or that invests at a higher rate in infrastructure or education. We know exactly what happens, and what happens is you're better off. The American dream is slipping away. You're much more likely to experience that if you're a kid in Denmark right now than if you're in America. And while people can think up all kinds of excuses why something that worked in other societies hasn't worked here, the reality is when we've tried it here in our own history, it's also served us pretty well.
When it comes to cultural conservatives, you have said that progressives need to be mindful of the distance they have to travel and sensitive to that. Do you think progressives also need to be mindful of the distance that some in business have to travel when they think, hey, they're coming after me?
Well, I think a lot of this is tonal. Look, the one thing I learned in the business community, and even more as a mayor engaging the business community, is that while we like to think of business as the most numbers-driven kind of discipline in America, in my experience, it's one of the most emotional. And so what's really important is that people not feel that they're being attacked. Or at least that they understand that if we're attacking a certain way of doing things or a certain system, that this is not motivated by just angsty hatred. It's being motivated by serious and legitimate concerns about where we're headed.
We have seen in the last 10, 15 years astonishing change in terms of cultural attitudes on issues like same-sex marriage. Do you have any degree of expectation that we're going to see very fast change of opinion on things like economic issues?
I think there is a tectonic change in economic policy, and you can see it by the fact that the Republican Party experienced a hostile takeover on the part of a basically economic populist. This is not just another four-year cycle. This is not just another election. And I don't just mean because of the character or personality of the president. I believe we're living through one of those moments, just as when the New Deal consensus gave way to the Reagan consensus. We're living through the end of a 30 or 40 year era that defined American politics and helps to explain how Democrats as well as Republicans behaved in office. And we're at the dawn of a new one. We've got to make sure we have an account of economic change as well as social and political structures to handle that change, especially in the new machine age with automation transforming our relationship to the workforce. We've got to have answers on that go a lot further than just saying that the current guy's rotten and we ought to vote him out.
John Harwood's with us from Washington. John, fascinating interview. I'd like to get your reflections and thoughts on whether there is room for a centrist view on the Democratic side.
Well, we certainly see, Carl, him rising in the polls. We've had new surveys in the last few days showing him in third place in both Iowa and New Hampshire. He raised $7 million in the first quarter, which is more than some of the better-known senators in the race. What makes him really remarkable is that not just that he's 37 years old, not just that he's the first openly gay candidate or that he's a naval intelligence veteran of Afghanistan, he's also a former McKinsey management consultant. So he has been deeply immersed in American capitalism, and that's where his critique comes from, and it lends it some credibility.